What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin John.
And once again, we have another album review, and one I would say is pretty highly anticipated. I've been a fan of this band for years.
I've not. I have come to terms with the fact that Nick is forever going to be a giant fan of every single band that we touch, maybe excluding one here or there, but like, whatever. I need to eat more Tylenol, I guess.
So we are going to go over the latest offering from Amorphis, Borderland. This also comes out on the 26th of September on Reigning Phoenix Music. This band formed in 1990 in Helsinki, Finland. This is their 16th studio album overall. I have been a fan since Tales from the Thousand Lakes, one of their more legendary albums. And I mean, you know, if you've been a fan of this band for a while, you know that their style has changed drastically over the years. They definitely have eras. I actually did a solo review for their last album, Halo, which I thought was pretty solid. And to describe this band, at least I guess overall in terms of this era, the Tommy era, I guess you could say, progressive melodic death metal with folk elements, maybe. I don't know if that entirely covers this album, though. This feels a little bit different. Like, yes, it does have all the token melodies and big vocal hooks of Amorphis, but I don't know. I feel like this one is kind of missing something. Or at least a lot of the hallmarks that I really liked about this era.
So as I said, I have never sat down and listened to this band until today. You guys remember the last Swallow the Sun album? And how I also said I wasn't overtly familiar with Swallow the Sun, but I sat down and gave it a chance because Nick hyped it up and said this is going to be pretty cool. And so I listened to it. And I went into this with the same kind of thing. Like Nick told me like kind of what these guys were about and where they're coming from and compared them to bands that I really like and was like, okay. And so this is my first listen. And, yeah, I'm going to let you just talk about it for a minute, and we'll get into it.
Now, for the record, this does have, you know, some songs in here that I really do feel embody a lot of this era sound. Songs like The Lantern, the title track, Despair, and the two bonus tracks on here, honestly, I think are better than some of the ones that made the cut.
Agree.
But right from the rip, with the opening track, The Circle, immediate air of familiarity. In fact, I mean, it kind of reminded me a bit of Am Universum. Alone, the big opener on there in terms of like the delayed guitars and really cool synths. You get into some galloping drums. It feels epic and bright, like you're riding a majestic steed through the hills and valleys and mountains. And be prepared for a vibe like that throughout most of this album. Now, I like that this band has always been kind of like balanced out in this era. Like you get good heavier songs, you get songs that are more bright and epic, lots of folky harmonies, the lush keys, it's layered, it's melodic, and you also have like good, darker, more like introspective songs. Like they write really well-balanced songs, but I feel like with this one, a good chunk of this was kind of focused on like vocally driven, kind of hooky songs.
Kind of like poppy hooky. The first 5 tracks are big and triumphant and kind of epic when it comes to the choruses and bright. I mean, we're talking about we're off. We're fighting dragons. We're punching them in the face. You know, we're taking no shit. We are the kings, the victors. Fuck all y'all. It's got that kind of vibe to it. Like Dancing Shadow. I won't lie. It had kind of like a seeing U2 in an arena vibe.
It's a very techno-y song. It's one of the brightest tracks in here, and this is one that it just instantly rubbed me the wrong way. Now, this band has written like poppier tracks in the past, but I feel like they weren't as like just blatant and garish as this. Like it's synths out front, you know, big poppy chorus which squeezes in one growl for whatever reason.
Yeah, they're in pockets.
It's Eurovision metal meets Eurovision pop, and I cannot get into this. And that vibe is kind of like carried throughout this album, or at least in a good chunk of it, where songs, they just feel like they kind of hang on to this particular mode of being very sing-songy. And again, that kind of brings me back to these songs being more vocally driven than musically driven. Like musically, yeah, they're loaded with melodies, they're lush, you know, they're hooky, but there's not much going on. Like, you know, the riffs are kind of just like your standard open chugs. You do get some like more shimmering acoustic guitars, and you know the synths kind of harmonizing with them is occasionally really cool. Vocal hooks are there, but the vocal hooks are what's driving most of these songs. rather than like a lot of like clever songwriting with like, you know, really interesting transitions and cool passages and such.
Vocally, to me, a majority of this record sounded like either Jonas from Catatonia or a more mid-registered Ross from Haken. And it doesn't really leave that register outside of the growls. Again, the growls are put more in pockets, at least until you get to the bonus tracks. To be honest with you, the bonus tracks, I think, to me, outweigh 99% of what's on the actual record.
Honestly, I would probably agree too. Like, you know, there are some songs that I did like in the front half. I think Tempest is a well-constructed song, you know, big acoustic melodies. It has, again, like a folky storytelling, you know, sort of vibe to it. I do like Tommy's vocals on there. The switches back and forth between growls and cleans. He's an exceptional vocalist. I've seen Amorphis live. That dude can do all that stuff live and just absolutely crush it. And his roars are like absolutely huge. Like sometimes I swear the dude probably doesn't need a microphone. But the turning point for me was probably Light and Shadow, just because it had like, you know, some more like 80s pop hooks. And then going on, songs like The Lantern, which I think The Lantern is one of the most dynamic songs on here. Really cool transitions. This is where you finally get like some of those like proggy moments that this band squeaks in. And they execute it really well. There's really cool synth passages. You get a great balance between, you know, big soaring hooks and like legit dark, you know, kind of like melancholia.
It's these last couple songs where they're less geared around being a big, bright, giant, poppy chorus song, you know, that are vocally driven. It's in the last 3 tracks, and again, even in the bonus tracks, where I think it's focused more on definitely proggy-ish moments. Like, I don't even think I would call them proggy songs, but there were more to them elementally than just a big shimmering moment. They were a little bit darker. They had a little bit more flow to them as far as, like, structure was concerned. There's even a small triplet chug in The Lantern, so, you know, that's cool.
Yeah. Really cool tribal passages in Warband. That song has like a lot of urgency to it.
I like Warband.
Yeah, that one's awesome. The roared vocals on there are particularly awesome. Like they really kind of make the song sound bigger, more epic, but not in like a cheesy way. Like this is a lion roaring in my face, rather than I don't know, like a songbird.
It had a lot of like newer Opeth vibes. Like obviously not to the level of technical proficiency that even newer Opeth still has, but it had that kind of feeling to it. Like it was more adventurous. It was more outside the box. It was more maybe other albums in Amorphis' career. Again, I have no idea because I'm fucking stupid, but I mean, I dug it.
I wouldn't ever call this band like super technical, but they have their moments where they get like proggy in terms of like writing more adventurous songs, being a little bit more clever with, you know, transitions. And I definitely hear that in parts in here, but a lot of this, again, it just felt kind of flat. Like there's not a lot of urgency to some of the songs up front. There's not a lot of heft to them. And while I do like the guy who produced, mixed, and mastered this, Jacob Henson, who does great work, I feel like this one might have been like just too lush and too poppy sounding in terms of like the production, because the guitars I feel like get buried by the synths. Like they get pushed back and the synths just roll right over them.
And the leads too. They're decent leads on this record, but the tone that they use for them is a little too warm considering how big the atmosphere is. Like if they would have incorporated a little bit more reverb to them or even made them a little bit more crisp, it's like you get this big open lush atmosphere and then the leads hit and it shrinks everything down to the point where you're kind of focused on these stagnant toned leads. Like it doesn't make anything pop.
Outside of that, I think the production sounds fine. I mean, I do feel like it is really focused on vocals and synths overall, which, I mean, those are kind of the two main things that are driving the melody. But towards the end of the album, again, I think the guitars get at least a little bit more space to show up. And you get, like, some, you know, more clever writing again. Like, you know, trade-offs between, like, the synths and the guitars in terms of, like, leads and such. Better harmonies. Just more vibrant songs. And, again, I was kind of, like, hyped for this one because I've been a long-time fan. But, man, a lot of this, you know, especially in the front half, I think it was kind of a letdown. Like, you know, Dancing Shadow is a flat-out pop song. And then the song The Strange, there's nothing strange about that because it takes place in some Christmas village in a Lifetime movie that I never want to watch. The colliding, shimmering, bright, Christmassy synths with, you know, Tommy's roared vocals. It's like fucking Krampus and Santa battling it out. I don't like Like a lot of this front half, like I just feel like it's very pedestrian for them. And yeah, granted, they can write some big hooky songs, but they're not particularly interesting.
Not at all. To be honest with you, it had a lot of rinse and repeat. Even though I don't know this band, I know of this band, and I know that, you know, that this band, for the most part in their earlier career especially, were heavily praised as being such a great thing. So, like, I know that these dudes are capable of something, but, like, I feel like this was the wrong place for me to start overall with this band.
I might have set you up. I didn't know it was going to be kind of meh.
You know, they can't all be zingers.
Yeah, you know, this is, you know, a lot of really solid musicians here that I feel like they're just kind of playing down and just, I don't know, like kind of just staying comfortable for the most part. But occasionally you get like glimmers of like some really flashy, fun songs in here. But yeah, overall, I gotta go with like a 2.5. And it's not the strongest 2.5, but the back half of this album kind of saved it because, again, more adventurous songwriting. It was still melodic. It still had great vocals. It still had beautiful shimmering synths and all that. Everything that the front half had, except the music was infinitely more interesting. It was more dynamic. The songs jumped out. You know, like the songs up in the front half of this album, like, again, they're catchy, but they're not very interesting. The songwriting feels kind of flat. It has interesting elements, but it feels just very safe overall. Like, yeah, the keyboards, I think, you know, dude is an amazing keyboardist. He writes a lot of like really cool textured stuff. And, you know, guitar work on here, I think, is solid when you can really hear it. And Tommy's vocals are amazing. Like, there's a lot of good stuff in here to praise, but when it came down to the assembly of like a lot of these songs, I just feel like they were kind of safe. You know, I need more songs like The Lantern and Warband. In fact, there's a couple of songs in here I would instantly yeet in favor of Warband and Rowan and the Cloud, which I thought was a solid song too. Yeah, I'm like legit kind of disappointed with this, but at the same time, if you're a longtime Amorphis fan, still strongly urge you to check it out. Listen to it for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Who knows, you might really dig it. Again, it's a little bit more on the softer side, and I don't think necessarily a good follow-up to Halo, but that's just me. But yeah, I mean, just check it out. Who knows? You might dig it.
I'm going to go ahead and give this record a 2. Again, not really knowing this band and being a longtime fan enough to certainly give them respect that I'm sure they deserve, I found this record to be extremely boring and rinse and repeat and too bright and shiny for my tastes. It's kind of like I said, I'm sure these guys are talented musicians and I'm sure they're capable of far more than this, but to me it sounded like they all did themselves a disservice and just made a record that was incredibly safe, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, dude, Warband and Rowan in the Cloud are 2 of my favorite songs on this record, and depending on what pressing of this album you got, you may not even get these tracks. I would recommend these 2 tracks pretty much over anything. A for atmosphere, D for disappointing. I feel like I'm in a Sesame Street thing here, and the lucky number is 11 and 12. Those are the tracks, the bonus tracks. But I mean, yeah, it just, I don't know. Like I said, I think this is the wrong place for me to start with this band. I think if I'm going to get into them, I'm going to have to go back and listen to whatever this guy recommends, who's been a longtime fan of these guys, because, you know, that's how it goes. Nonetheless, if you're a longtime Amorphis fan, I don't know if you'll like this or not, because I have nothing to compare it to. You might not. Furthermore, if you're a fan of bands like Catatonia, for sure, you're probably going to dig at least 4 or 5 songs on here. But much like Reading Rainbow, in the great words of LeVar Burton, you don't have to take my word for it.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They are only 99 cents, and our lone perk is doing a members-only live stream, which we will probably do sometime next month. We will let you know when, but membership is the main way to support the channel, and there is a join button down there, and if you hit it, then you join. I don't have anything clever to say right there. Yeah, that's all I got.
So even if you don't hit that button, it's cool. We do non-members only live streams, discography rankings, tons of album reviews, multiple discussion forums, tons of segments. We do all metal all the time. We do it for you guys because, God damn it, we appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of things. Thank you for continuing to support this channel. It means the absolute world to us. Can't believe there's over 22,000 of you. That's fucking nuts. Which just goes to show we can't really do this without you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule. Tons of content coming your way. So one more big thank you because you guys are awesome. And we will catch you later.